Croeso nôl to Fearless in Devotion, the Wrexham AFC podcast, sponsored by the one and only Fat Boar Bar and Restaurant for all your culinary and alcoholic and non-alcoholic
and spiritual
needs, emotional needs. Yes, thank you everyone for listening. Once again, you can buy us a coffee. Tim, can people still do that?
They can if you go to the Linktree, just type in Fearless in Devotion on Linktree, or you'll find it all, or buy us a coffee / Fearless IDZ. You'll find it easy enough. Please feel free to drop us a couple of quid. That'd be great because it helps with running costs, and it would be huge.
We need it. We've run out of Zoom storage. Daddy needs more Zoom storage.
Andy needs more money for his ciggies.
We just had to pay more money for Zoom storage, and also we cleaned out all of our reserves, paying for this week's guest. More on that shortly.
Hang on. I just say,
keep hitting.
We have to go through his agent for this, and we did have to offer some cash, but Dino straight away gave it to charity. So let's just head that off now.
Yeah. So we've had to give money to charity. So please treat
what was the charity? Was it his agent?
Treat us as your next charity to help us continuing doing that.
The Dean Saunders Lawn Foundation. No, it was Nightingale House Hospice, something he's done a few times. So that's good.
Well, we could see Liam Randall has joined us here, as well as Andy and Tim. Liam is wearing last year's kit. Did anyone get this year's kit? Anyone 400 quid worse off, or was it just me?
I managed to get hold of it, but I didn't get trapped because I used PayPal. That seemed to be the little workaround, the little hack. You use PayPal, and everything in your life will be good. I'm not being paid by PayPal for this, but yeah, that worked.
What's the latest on that, Andy? Because I was actually joking. I didn't get done with it, so I'm fine. But I saw a lot of people were being charged ludicrous sums because they'd been triple and quadruple hit, hadn't they? Has the club reimbursed? Have they sorted that issue? Does anyone know?
I saw people on the day saying that due to the waiting area, they came in, they thought they'd got one, they hadn't, they came back in again, they've been charged twice. Look, it'd be very doubtful if the club isn't fully reimbursing people as we speak.
No, they've done it. They did it the same day. A lot of people were quick to point out that they'd done it quite swiftly, which is fair because they were all on the club about the issues that came up through that entire pre-order process, which the club were quick enough to put a press release out about as well. So
on that, huge demand for shirts. We had the revelation this week that Wrexham's turnover has gone from 2 odd million to 20 million, a tenfold increase. It's just crazy numbers, aren't they, Tim?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's like that still hasn't sank in for me because it was kind of said by Flo at like a corporate event in Bolesworth Castle, I think, which not many people knew that was happening. So yeah, to go from 2 and a bit million to 20 million, it gives us an idea of what we're going to be seeing in the annual accounts with everything. But that's an astonishing figure, and it
seems very high. Is it?
It does seem high.
I was expecting maybe around the 10 mark, even just under 10, but to go to 20 seems. I'm not a financial expert, but that seems extremely high.
High, but welcoming, I suppose. I know you guys know a bit more about the financial fair play stuff than me, but it puts us in a decent position regarding that entire side of things. So yeah,
I was going to mention that. I think this sort of knocks financial fair play on the head. Now we were unsure, and we talked to Bryn about it a couple of weeks ago about how much we'd be affected by it, because people say that Salford haven't been able to kick on because they can't get past FFP, but Salford are a different case to us because they're not filling their ground. They're not bringing in looks like millions from documentaries or sponsorship. So yeah, we're a slightly different case, and I was astonished by that figure, but it does sort of drag us through any sort of FFP nightmare we could have had, and I expect us to add a few big names in the next couple of weeks.
Well, the irony here actually is that FFP helps us a lot, right? It actually rewards teams with really high turnovers. So actually, it's impinging on other clubs who would be our bigger competitors, but who are actually a bit hamstrung. Speaking of other news, USA tour is sorted. Philadelphia Union second 11. Andy, you're going, aren't you?
Trying to, but I need to sort out my missus's holiday because she hasn't had it signed off yet. Basically, we've got tickets for Chelsea. Ideally, what we want to do is fly over, spend a few days going down the North Carolina or up the North Carolina coast, and then go through Washington and to Philly for the last couple of games and fly back. But it's still up in the air. So if anybody wants to email her bosses and say, hurry up with the bloody rota, they're more than welcome.
Flipping Daily Mail. Terrible people. Or the Daily Mirror. I don't know which paper. Liam, I'm guessing you won't be going. You never go to away matches.
I was Mr. Away match. I must have done a good 3 this season. So God, I'm raring to go. But not as far as America though. I don't like when people start talking about American things. It just annoys me a bit. But yeah, sorry to our American listeners, by the way.
Wow. I mean, absolutely. Why don't we just bite the hand that feeds us? We were saying we want a coffee because we need more storage. You just ruined that storage for us.
Andy, on the other hand, loves American things. If you ever see him in the street and you just want to talk his head off about Dallas, he will love that, absolutely.
Yeah, I will be in a 10-gallon hat.
Loves Dallas, loves Fizzy Benlin, the old Dr. Pepper. Big fan. Anyway, we got a new feature, guys. It's been a while, but we're all ready and excited for this new feature. Andy alluded to it then, but it's actually called Liam's Big Moves.
Move it. You like to move it. I like to move it. I like to move it.
That's right. It's that time of the week, everyone, where Liam Randall gives us the insight into what's going on in the murky corridors of the English and Welsh and elsewhere international soccer transfer market window.
We do not deserve having a coffee bought to us for Andy's use of. Are we going to get hammered by the professional recording people for you?
Less than 10 seconds. And if everyone doesn't tell that body,
just don't tell anyone. Fine. Don't tell. What are they called? Boys to Men? No,
behave. It's the Mad Stuntman featuring real
Boys to Men.
Do we know has the Mad Stuntman ever gone on social to say he's a big Wrexham fan? Because if he hasn't, I think this podcast and this YouTube video may pass him by, and I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, no mention it. Anyway, Liam, what is the news? What can you bring us from the corridors of power?
Right. Well, the first thing to say is that this segment might be named after me, but this would not be possible without my new snout. A snout who knows everything about transfers in Wrexham, and he goes only by the name of Wonder Boy. Just let that aura, just let that sink in for a minute.
Wow. Wasn't that a classic Sega Master System game, Wonder Boy?
I always think of the Tenacious D song when I think of
Wonder Boy.
I don't want to ask him though, because it'll ruin the mystique. Anyway, Wonder Boy has been getting all the gossip for us, and the basic info is that Phil Parkinson is looking to fill 4 positions in this transfer window, they being left wing back, centre forward, right centre mid, and left centre back. As far as names go, we're a bit scarce, but we're told someone from Bolton and an ex-Forest Green Rovers player. But there's no names been given on that. We did speak to, remember that Scottish striker, Maine?
Yeah.
We have spoken to him, but he's playing coy with us, the teasing little so-and-so.
Minx.
So,
Maine.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
in other news...
from Bolton?
Well, I guess if you're saying left wing back, we were linked with Declan John last year, weren't we?
I don't trust people with 2 first names. You know that.
I think there was a bit of a situation for him at the end of the season at Bolton as well, where he wasn't being played. So maybe that's a possibility. I don't know.
Do you not trust Aaron Hayden, Andy?
It's more John Terry. I don't trust.
I don't think any of those positions come as a surprise, though, do they? In terms of what does it, any of them where you think, oh, why are we going for someone new there?
No. I think that's probably where we need to strengthen. Are you saying centre forward as in a big man, or centre forward as in like a striker who can sort of be in the mix and do a mixture of both?
I think in terms of most of the names we're being linked with, it would appear to be the latter, wouldn't it? It doesn't sound like necessarily another big man type Palmer option by the sound of things. So maybe it's just to vary up our options up front. Another piece of news that we have had is that Ben Foster has an option to stay following his current deal. So
right,
to play?
He could stay after the current 1 year to play.
So he's got an option of another year.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
he's moving into Dave Besanton Burridge territory for age. If he hits 41 upwards,
he seems to be enjoying it though.
I reckon I'm going to say the punt that we discussed, Liam, on the WhatsApp group about who it could be from Forest Green. Is it worth us mentioning this bloke?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
this Dylan McGeoch. Dylan McGeoch, I'm going to say. Strangely surname, but 30 years old. He was at Forest Green, midfielder. He was their player of the season after winning the Player of the Month awards for March and April. 30 years old, played for Parky under Sunderland. However, Parky did allow him to leave from Sunderland. But counts for nothing. Good experience. I'm not sure in terms of what we need in that midfield department. And if we do we see anybody going out on loan, or is it just merely strengthening because of the amount of competitions we're going to be in?
Yeah, I think strengthen, and I think someone who can, play a couple of positions, add a bit of league experience. I think that. How do you say his second name? McGeoch.
McGeoch. I'm going to say it's McGeouch. McGeoch.
I mean, he just having a quick look at him, he looks very similar to Max Power. So you want he's looking for someone with a bit of experience, but not over the hill. Someone who's played at a higher level and can sort of G up the rest of the midfielders, because James Jones was great last season, but he's great when he's got someone breathing down his neck, I'll be honest. And if you can bring someone in to add to that group, I don't see a downside to that.
What do we make of Declan John? What kind of signing would he be? Would we be very pleased? I know a few years ago when he joined the Swans, I know he was very highly rated. Kind of dipped off a little bit, but it's still a good player, right? I've not seen him play too much. Any thoughts?
I mean, he's 7 caps for Wales. I mean, wonder how far away is he from the Wales sort of setup, Tim?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. But that said, I mean, he just kind of fell off the radar massively, and it was like one of those. Well, that was good while it lasted. But I'm not really sure what's happened to him at Bolton, to be honest, because he had a bit of a fall from grace from there as well, from what I can gather. So I honestly don't know. I don't see it personally, but strange things happen. I didn't expect Johnny Williams to tip up at Gillingham, so you never know.
Yeah, it might be that Parky's confident that they can get something out of him. Les Reed sees something in him. Who knows? But that would be interesting, certainly. Right, should we move on from that fantastic new feature? We'll bring you more next week.
Oh, should I play us out?
No, don't do that. More
Liam,
exclusive.
can we have a dance choreographed to that
for you
for the next segment, please?
I don't think so. More on that next week. Shall we talk quickly before we introduce our special guest, which we're very excited to bring you quickly? Fixtures are out on Thursday this week, obviously very, very exciting. Who's everyone looking for our first game of the season? Tim?
So League 2 fixtures are out at 9 o'clock on Thursday, swiftly followed by the Papa John's EFL Trophy Group Stage at 11:30, then followed by the Carabao League Cup first round at 2:30. Both those cup competitions are regionalised, so localish games. In terms of who I'm hoping for, I don't know. I still have this weird feeling that we may be televised on the Friday night, potentially. So they're going to be us or County. I don't know. Andy's saying not.
Oh no, I mean my mate's getting married and he's getting married abroad, and that's when he's having that sort of come home celebration night. So and I've already missed. This is the guy who I missed his stag do to go to Boreham Wood. So what a double whammy for Christian Paddock.
So
Come on.
With
I
that,
need a home game. I need a home game so I can go to Pads on Friday night and then rock up to the to Bradford at home in the big showpiece first League Two game.
so we're
we
definitely going to be playing Barrow away on the Friday night, if by that logic. But I looked at our opening fixtures for the last 7 or 8 seasons when we were last in the league. Darlington away, Wickham away, Boston at home, Swindon at home, Chesterfield at home, Scunthorpe away, Oldham at home, and Bristol City at home. So I would like a good one, but I suspect it'll be something like Swindon away.
Oh, that would be terrible. I'll have to drive.
I would love Swindon away.
No, I mean, I'll have to drive up to Aquavia and then drive all the way back down again with a hangover. No,
That wouldn't be fun.
no.
Well, as we're on the
Home game,
topic,
please. Home game on the Saturday. Don't care again who.
for
Why don't you
me,
just bring your mate to the game as like part of his wedding gift?
Yeah, that would go down well with his French bride. Yeah,
Bring her.
just say
Swindon-
Ryan Reynolds is going to be there. They like
Yeah.
he
Ryan
loves
Reynolds
the
in France, right?
Swindon.
Le Swindon.
Yeah, for me, so I am actually going to France for quite a lot of September for the Rugby World Cup. So my fear, my big watch would be, please, no big games I really want to see during that time. So as long as Newport away, Wimbledon away, Forest Green away, because of locality, and Swindon away, as long as they're not in September, then I'll be happy. Not too fussed on first game. I'll go wherever.
Liam, which ones are you going away for?
Away?
Yeah,
I want a home game.
I know, but
Bloody hell.
He said away like it was a dirty word. Away.
well,
But-
Crewe away, you could do that, couldn't you?
Oh yeah.
On the
To be
train.
honest, the fixtures are quite nice for us this season in terms of actually having some decent Northwest away days. So I've got no excuse this season. I quite fancy Gillingham at home though. That'd be a nice ex-league club. Yeah, let's do that. Gillingham at home.
I think it will be at home. If I was putting money on it, they're going to want that, and it's probably going to be televised, right?
On Friday when Andy's meant to be at Paddocks.
Let's hope so.
Paddock.
And everyone in the Football League can hit us now, as well as everyone in the National League, because we get all the televised games. So that'll be great. Lots to look forward to. But anyway, is it a good time now, Andy, to move on to our guest? Why don't you let the listener know who it is?
Well, I've already sort of dropped his name earlier, and to be honest, we've been trailing it enough. But yeah, it's Dean Saunders, someone who we've wanted to get on for ages, someone who everyone always talks about. Anyone who's played for him has a Dean Saunders story. So first part of this, we asked them if they're true. Little note, they are. Right, we're over 100 episodes in, and there's one person we've talked about more than anyone else. It isn't Ryan Reynolds, it isn't Rob McElhenney, it isn't Geraint, it isn't Mickey, it isn't even Joey. It's someone a lot of the players have held in very high regard. Someone who managed us through a turbulent yet memorable period, fighting fires as he went. Someone who is responsible for the most laugh-out-loud funny stories we've had on here. Liverpool, Aston Villa, Galatasaray, Forest, Sheffield United, Benfica, Bradford, Wales legend, 3 years in charge of Wrexham, Heidi Tabubi, Patrick Sufo, Joe Allen, 155 games, 65 wins, 4,000 attacking throw-ins. You know it is. Welcome to the pod, the one and only Dean Saunders. How are you?
Good evening. Yeah, I quite enjoyed that. You should have kept going.
You know what? I probably could have. There's enough going back. But if I put it all in the intro, we can't spread it all through this. So to get you warmed up.
You know what you should have said at the end?
Yeah.
And he wishes he was manager now.
Oh, we all wish we were manager now.
We'll
get to that. We'll get to that because I want to know how you take on that documentary. But we're going to get there. Right. Firstly, we're going to do a Dean Saunders true or false. Now, this is a little bit different because we think these are all true. Because we've been told these stories from people who've been on the pod, Kreitz, Jay Harris, Mozza. But we're going to go through them because you may remember them a little bit differently to how they told them. Right. Firstly, how are your snow clearing abilities? Someone told us that you once used the minibus to clear the five-a-side pitch, and then there was a flood in the back of it because you'd left it all in the back to melt. Is that true?
Yeah, we were shoveling the snow off the training pitch, off the 3G, because it was the worst winter ever. And if you remember, it kept snowing every day for ages. And we were unable to train. So myself, Brian Carey, Mal Purchase, Stuart Webber, Steve Cooper, he was there as well. We were getting the snow off the pitch so we could train. So we'd get an advantage over the opposition and all the other teams. They were training in school gyms and things. So we managed to do that, and we did hit the ground running. We did win a load of games after we cleared the snow. But yeah, I was driving the minibus, and we had the drag mat on the back, and we were all shoveling it off. But the funniest part for me was Kevin, who was Charlie, the groundsman's assistant, Kev, who does my garden for me, who's a great fella. He turned up late one day, and we were shoveling, and I said, Kev, how are you late? Like, I've got to sort the tactics out and the training out. How are you late? He went, oh, sorry about that, Gaffer. I jackknifed the van. I went, jackknifed the van? What do you mean? He's got like one of them painter and decorators van. Yeah. I said, what do you mean you jackknifed the van? He goes, I jackknifed it in the ditch. I said, no, you can jackknife a juggernaut, a massive lorry. You can't jackknife that little van you got. So we were crying, laughing, because that was his excuse, right? He's late the next day. The very next day, he's late again. I'm going, Kev, I'm going to Charlie. He's winding me up now. He's doing it on purpose. Where is he? He'll be here any minute, Gaffer. So he come running across the pitch again. I went, Kev, go on. What are you going to say to me? He went, fuel starvation.
Fuel starvation?
I said, what? Fuel starvation. I said, do you mean you've run out of petrol? He went, yeah. He was just trying to make it sound worse. I still remind him about it now, but clearing the snow off the pitch, that is my memory. We were crying, laughing for 2 days. And the best part was we went on a winning run right after it. I ruined the van, mind. The van was water, but yeah, it's got to be done, hasn't it? It's got to be done. You all hands to the pump.
This is the next one. Who was better on the mower, you or Paul Challoner? And did you ever let him drive it?
No, Charlie. One day, I can't remember who it was. It was a striker that we couldn't afford, and my biggest weapon was the training ground. Our training ground is as good as anybody's. We had the 3G pitch, and I worked it out that if I turned the pitches around a certain way, we could get 3 pitches, and we could just ruin one, and then in November we can still have a pitch, because I was asking the players to play football, and they can't do that on a cabbage patch. So first of all, Charlie's had a young lad helping him, and I went out there one day. He's cutting the grass without putting the divots back. He's got his earphones in, sat on that red Toro mower, and he hasn't put the divots back. So I said, cut, stop the mower. I said, before you cut the grass, put the divots back. Otherwise you're going to make the holes bigger. Yeah. Next day, he's doing it again. I went, stop the mower. I said, I told you yesterday. I said, all you got to do is put the divots back first, then cut the grass. Yeah. Anyway, he done it a 3rd time, and he didn't expect me to be in. I come in on Sunday morning, I think it was, and just as the players are coming out, I said to him, listen, you need to go and get your gear and leave. I've told you we can't win the league without your help, you and Charlie. You getting these pitches right for us. I can train every day properly, and I'm not moaning at the players because they're doing a passing drill and the ball's bobbling everywhere. And then training's ruined because I lose my head. So I told you how important you are, but I've asked you 3 times and you're still doing it. So go and get your gear and leave. So he's driving out the car park, and all the players just come out on the pitch. And I said, lads, You see that car? That's the groundsman, one of the groundsmen. And I've just told him to leave because he's lazy. I can't work with lazy people. I went, who's next? Who's next? Because if you're lazy, I won't forgive you for all the little things you do wrong. But if you work your socks off and you give me everything, I will forgive you. You cannot have a bad game in my eyes. It's impossible. If you give me everything, I know you're going to make mistakes, but as long as I know you're trying, I'll forgive you. And every now and again, when we lost, I used to throw it in. I used to say, remember what happened to the groundsman? And that's all I had to say, half time. Remember, there'll be a few of you following him soon. And I used to use that as my, remember, I will not accept anybody lazy at the club. And then one of them said, I tried to cut the pitch. We couldn't afford a striker. And I thought, if I get the pitches perfect, then he'll sign. So I cut all the stripes in the pitch. I got one of them mowers at home, so I knew how to start it. So I come in at 5 a.m, opened the shed, and I cut all the pitches and put the nets up and the corner flags and everything. It was perfect. Charlie come in and went, who's been doing that? What's been going on up there? I said, see, it is possible, Charlie. And he just laughed. But yeah, I used to cut the grass sometimes. I got up early, and there's behind it, when you train every day as a footballer, it does get boring, believe it or not. Everybody wants to be a footballer, but they do take it for granted, and you do get it's monotonous training. So no matter who you are, if you played football as a kid and you see a striped up football pitch with the dark stripes, you want to go out and play, don't you? So that was my thinking behind it. When the players see the pitch is perfect every day, they run out with enthusiasm and we get a good training session. So I forgot what you asked me now. Oh,
you've answered. You know what? I'm looking through all these questions. I'm going to go, we're not going to get through these. Bloody hell, I've only asked him once.
I'm short, but no, it's vital. Everybody at the club plays their part. The fans, the players, the owners, the groundsman, Alan, who was making the food and doing the kit, Mal, Ritson, the physio. Everybody's got a job to do, and it all comes together, and it did.
Right, I'm gonna after that one, I'm gonna put these two together. Right, Kreitz once said he went to your mansion once, and he said you don't know how many rooms you've got in your mansion. It's so big. And another thing I've heard about the Saunders household is this true? You once had a golf club to signal to the Saunders clan if the TV was too loud. You would used to bang 1 to turn it up and 2 to put it lower. That can't be true, can it?
Well, it's true, but that was when I was playing for Derby. So I was playing for Derby, and in them days, there was no remote control. So you had your skybox downstairs.
Ah, that makes sense.
See, and I had a little portable on a little stool, and I could reach the portable. I didn't have to go to bed. I had a 3-iron golf club that I used to click. You used to have to click the buttons to turn the telly over. So I used to, 1 tap downstairs was for Screen Sport, and 2 taps was for Eurosport. We're going that far back. So I used to tap the floor to change the telly over. Yeah, so that was when I was at Derby. And
all right, so it is sort of true, but not in the way that we'd be given it. Right, come on, let's get into Wrexham. How did you sort of first hear of the Wrexham interest? Did you always want to be a boss on your own? And was it important that you kept that Wales assistant manager's job as well?
Well, yeah, I started at Blackburn with Graham Souness. I was assistant there, and then I went to Newcastle. I was assistant there, and then obviously I'd spent 4 years, 5 years as an assistant, and I'd spent 7 years doing all my coaching badges. And I felt fortunate that Graham Souness had given me a start in the Premier League, coaching. So I'm coaching Andy Cole, Dwight York, Damien Duff, Keith Gillespie, Two-Guy, Newcastle, Stephen Carr, Bobby Yarrow, Titus Bramble, Boomsong, Andy O'Brien, Shay Given, Carr, Lee Boyer, Kieran Dyer, Nicky Butt, Jermaine Janus, Emery, Solano, Robert, Milner, Ambrose, Clivert, Bellamy, Michael Owen, Shearer, Shola Amiobi, Michael Chopra.
Wow, you remembered all of them.
Yeah, so I was coaching them. And then I got asked by John Toshak to coach the national team, which is a great honour. And we had Gareth Bale, Aaron Ramsey, Joe Allen. Obviously, Brian Flynn was in charge of the three teams, 17s, 19s, 21s. That's where it started. Tosh decided to put the youngsters into the team and get going with it. So I was doing that. And then I got a phone call from Jeff Moss saying, you couldn't help me out, could you? Because we had games every 3 months, and Graham had left. Me and Graham had left Newcastle, so I was just working with Wales at the time, and I needed to be in every day. So I was every 3 months I was working with Wales. So in the meantime, I had a bit of time on my hands. So Jeff asked me, could I come and help? He sacked Brian Little, and I come in. I come in and help Brian do a session once with the strikers. And then Jeff asked me to come in, and then I got in, and then he asked me, could you do the job? I said, well, Jeff, I'm assistant manager of Wales, and I wasn't planning on jumping from the national team to start managing a team in the conference, because if I get it wrong, where do I go from there? You ain't going up a league. Whereas you look at Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard, started at the highest level, you get another chance and you can learn from it. But if you get it wrong at a conference, you might not get another job ever. So that's the risk you take. But I thought I could sort any team out. I actually thought that in my own head. I can sort this out. Anyway, I took the job, and Jeff said, well, don't worry about, if you come and help us, you can do the Wales job. I said, well, yeah, but Jeff, what happens if the games clash? They only clash once.
I remember that,
yeah. But I then threw myself into the Wrexham job, and, they were 15th, I think, in the league when I took over. And I was just trying my best every day to try and turn it round. And eventually we got a team on the pitch that was looking like it could win the league. So I was pleased with that.
I mean, first season, finished 10th. Towards the end, we're losing a few games, sort of 1-0, and it all seemed quite frustrating. Did even you think, I don't need this? Or did you sort of always back yourself with that confidence that you've just said that you can turn this around?
Well, no, if you can imagine, I'd come from playing for big clubs where we play total football, play football, play it forward. And, teams, I was playing for teams that had to win every week. And then I went to Blackburn, and we were trying to win every game with Blackburn. We finished 6th, and we won the Coca-Cola Cup. And then I went to Newcastle. We were trying to get into the Champions League and win every game. So I thought that was the way to play football.
Yeah.
In my head, that was my idea of football. So when I first come to Wrexham, I got some lads in from Premier League clubs who could play, receive the ball with the back to goal in midfield, and like young lads who were enthusiastic. Joe Allen was one of them, who I got on loan from Swansea, who could anyway, I found we were winning when I first got there. Then towards the end of the season, when we were playing the same teams again, they'd worked it out. So we now had a team full of young footballers who couldn't defend corners and couldn't defend set plays and could get bullied. We were getting bullied by teams. They were just like, right, we're not going to let Wrexham have total control of the possession, because that's what we were doing most weeks. we're going to bully them out of it. And we'd play against Stevenage and teams like that who had like a team full of 6'5" who just bullied us. We were having the ball all afternoon. They were sitting deep, so eventually we were missing chances, and then we were getting done with a corner or a breakaway. So I thought to myself at the end of that season, that's what's wrong. I've got to find a happy medium somehow. I've got to get a team that can, and obviously the bigger the players you sign in that level, you don't expect them to be like Rio Ferdinand on the ball. So you've got to try, like, he heads balls out of our box, but don't expect us to play total football across the back if you've got a couple of players who can't kick it properly.
Yeah.
Who can't hit it properly. So that, I thought, I know what's wrong. I'll put it right. And the next season I started with that thinking, to get out of this league, you need players who know the league and men who will stand up on a Tuesday night when it's raining at Gateshead, and you can't play football on a bad pitch, and we can win that way as well. And that's what I was thinking.
I mean, before I bring Liam in, who's sort of going to talk more about that season, I can just remember so many exotic players coming in. Like there's some players I can't even name. There was a couple of French centre halves. Colleen was there, and Asunamami. Was it hard to keep track of them? What I'm trying to say, did you come in on the changing pitch and go, who's he?
Well, no. I mean, to be like, I've never spent 1 pence on a player. Since all the clubs I've managed, I've never bought a player, which I thought when I went to Wolves, I'd be able to sign a £2 million striker that somebody wants, not given away. So you have to beg, steal and borrow. And I had to use my contacts. Like, who could I get a player who's just trying to improve on what we got all the time? And it took me about 2 years of sieving through. Bearing in mind, when these players come in, a lot of them are on trial and they're getting like 100 quid a week, 200 quid a week or whatever. They're not getting like big contracts. So, and there's a big turnover of players in the conference because, you know, you're not having to fork out lots of money to end the contracts. You're not paying any transfer fees for them, and they want the opportunity as well. So we did look at like players' histories of who they played for, how many games have they played. Let's get him in, see if he can cope with the league and what we were doing. But no, I like, as you can tell now, you asked me to name any team that I've managed or played in. I can name the team. I don't know whether there's something wrong with me. I think there probably is, but I've got a skill of being able to remember teams.
You and Glenn Little. Glenn Little's got that skill as well.
What a player, Glenn Little. I mean, I used to enjoy watching Glenn Little train and play. I mean, he had that shape to cross it and chop back on his other foot, and his crossing and picking people out. He added quality, and what a great lad as well. He was brilliant round the club. He's one of the best lads I signed, but he used to get frustrated. Imagine he's played in the Premier League and he's played like, you know, and what he was brilliant at was standing crosses on Gareth Taylor's head and Andy Morell's head. That's what he was good at.
Anyway, we digress. Liam, come in, mate. Come in.
Yeah, no, I could talk about Glenn Little all day. To be honest with you, he was one of my favourites as well. But coming onto that 2009-10 season, you brought in, you know, some experienced heads, the likes of Frank Sinclair, Gareth Taylor. Did it start to feel like more of your team then, bringing those sorts of players in?
Yeah, and it was trial by error. You know, I had to like. You don't, if you sign 5 players, even if you're Alex Ferguson, if you sign 5 players and you get 3 of them right, it's like unbelievable. Because until you get them in the building and you slot them into your team, you imagine them playing for you, but until you get them in, sometimes, you know, you sign a right back, for example, because you think he's better than the one you had. And when you find out after 5 games, well, I mean, he's worse. I thought I got it wrong. I thought he'd be better than what we had. So eventually you get it down to, right, I've got 8 players right. I've got 8 of them. We've got it. We used to sit in the coach's room and we used to put a tick, a cross, or a question mark next to every player. And I said, until we've got 17 ticks on that board, we haven't got a squad. You're always going to have a couple of question marks because you get young players who you don't know how they're going to be when they step up. And you've got players who you like that about, you know, how long can you keep trying to coach them if they keep making the same mistakes? How long am I going to persevere with them? He's on the edge of, so he'd be a question mark. And we've always done that. And by the end, in that season you're on about now, I probably had 6 or 7. And by the following season, I had 15 that I knew could go out and do a job.
Yeah, when you talk about the likes of Frank Sinclair, I think he fits that category that you mentioned before, where, you know, they'll stand up and be counted for your, you know, sort of Tuesday night in Gateshead type of thing, isn't it? That's the sort of character you're after. We also had a few players coming in on loan from Premier League clubs. Was that always part of your plan to sort of supplement the squad with those players?
Yeah, and like Ryan Flynn, for example, I got from Liverpool, good footballer. Says, who I got from Man City, and Sam Williamson, I got from Man City. They were like in my early thoughts of we can football our way out of this league. I was wrong. You know, I thought we could, that's what I was, my idea of football was what I brought to the club. And then as I was on the job, because the owners had given me enough time to sort it out, eventually 2.5 years later, I got what I wanted. And it was like a balance of men who could do the job and play football. I mean, Lee Fowler is as good a footballer as you could ever see. I enjoy watching him train and play football, you know, but he's got other weaknesses to his game, but football wise, class. Yeah. And the young lads, they added to it, but eventually we had men in the team, really. I can't think, did we have any young players? Sis was on the bench, but it was Morel, Mangan, Taylor, Sinclair, Crichton, Knight, Percival, Obeng, Taylor, Flemo was playing. We had Crofty for a while, Andrew Crofts, who's obviously shouldn't have been playing at that level, but we got him in. Chris Blackburn done a good job. So we had, like, if you think about all them, they were like seasoned pros who could play football and dig in and have a scrap.
Yeah, I think we finished, I think it was 12th that season, but did you feel that things were starting to gather pace at that point? Did you feel like you knew the league quite well by then?
Yeah, and I know that, you know, it's such a great football club. I'm so pleased by what's happened, by the way. I'm so pleased that I think the club's going to go up and up and up. I always thought if I can get Wrexham into the League Two, I can get them into the Championship, because you can carry the spirit on that you've got. Like, I honestly believe now that they can win League Two and win League One back to back. It might not happen, but I think they can because of what you've put in place. And I always thought all along that, you know, only one team goes up and the other one goes in the playoffs. It's always been like, how's that right? You know, teams are going bankrupt trying to get back in the League Two with only one team doing it. And every year I found, like, if you go through the league table now, by the way, and have a look how many teams were in the league I was in, there's not many left that were in the conference when I was manager. I think they're like, I looked at one point, it was like 6 or 7. But teams like Eastleigh, somebody puts a couple of million into Eastleigh and has a go. Boreham Wood, somebody chucks a couple of million at it. Boreham Wood. Sorry, is that?
No, it's all good. No, you changed it the other way now. No, that's fine.
Someone rung me.
Oh, well, no, all good, mate. All good.
So yeah, every year when there's only one spot, teams that you've like are nicking the players I was bidding for. I was getting outbid by like Eastleigh. I was thinking, well, where have they got the money from? You know, I was trying to sign a striker or a wide player, and they were giving him 500 quid a week more than me. And my highest paid players, I think, were 1,200 quid. I think. My budget was. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I might as well. It was like just under 700 grand. My budget was. And I know Fleetwood's was 2 million. So we were always up against it. And eventually they nicked Andy Mangan and they nicked Lee Fowler off me and give them double their wages. So, yeah, it's a difficult job. And with the fans that Wrexham have got behind them, you know, I've managed other clubs, but Wrexham's fans are passionate. It's never quiet in the stadium. And I knew, you know, if I kept going and I kept trying, I either resign or I get sacked. There's no other way out. You got to fight. I'm trying to, you know, do well as well for my career. So I was like refusing to fail.
Yeah,
I got it. But we got there in the end.
I want to go on to sort of talk more about the players you brought in, and you've mentioned one Fowler, but just before that, greetings from the Gara, I think.
Dino, yes, hello, Reese here, usually part of the podcast, but I had a family engagement I couldn't get out with. I just wanted to say hello as the Swansea native. Here's your hometown. I don't know if you miss it, Dino. You should.
It's that Mumbles. You in Mumbles?
It's the Mumbles, mate. Yeah, there you go.
Ah, paradise.
Paradise, mate. Yeah, and I just thought I'd let you know, when you took over, I was 16 and I was naive, but I had a T-shirt on it which said Dean Saunders, the Messiah. I don't know where it is. I'll try and track it down. But we were all young, and then you left and broke my heart, Dean. But it's fine. I've got over it just about. I'll have to dig out the T-shirt. I won't. I think my signal might be a bit dodgy down here, but I just wanted to poke my head in and say hello because I loved watching your teams play.
Oh, thanks very much.
Enjoyed the chat. Thanks for doing it. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bloody hell, this has turned into This Is Your Life. Who are we going to bring in next?
See you guys. Ta-ra.
See you, Reese. Let's talk about, did you, the players you brought in, did you sort of gravitate towards complex characters? I'm thinking like Fowler, Mangum, Harris. Did you think you could improve them? Did you even think you could save them? Because these were players, you know, who were obviously talented, but had a few issues maybe. But, you know, there was always, you were always an open place at Wrexham, wasn't there?
Yeah, like flawed characters, you're trying to say.
Yeah, I'm trying to say that in a roundabout way, yeah.
Yeah, but like, you know, Jay, Harris, Mangy, I think they were banned for betting on the games, I think. So I had to pay their fine to get them back playing. And I give Mangy a chance. And sometimes, you know, they were both banned from playing football. And because I was prepared to give them a chance, they run through brick walls for me. Jay, you know, he'll tell you, it's not for me to say, he'll tell you which way I helped him in different ways off the pitch. But Jay, I knew he was better than the conference. I knew that Jay could play in League Two. He had done. I knew Mangy could score goals in League Two and in the conference. And I had no money to buy players. So, yeah, I thought, well, if I can guide them and tell them what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong and, you know, convince them that they could go and play higher up. And that is the proudest thing of all the things I achieved at Wrexham. If you go through the team that I had, they all went on to play in league football. They all went higher up. Knight Percival went. I don't know about Kreitz.
No, I think Kreitz got injured. I think he was, yeah.
Got injured, retired.
Yeah.
Chris Maxwell.
Yeah.
Danny Ward.
Yeah.
Neil Taylor. Curtis. Lee Fowler. Jay Harris. Keatsy. Jake Spate. And Andy Morell and Gareth Taylor had already played at that level. They were 36, 37. they were magnificent for us as well, and in the dressing room for me. Those two guiding all the loose cannons we had. Chris Blackburn, unusual character.
Oh, can we talk about Chris? Is it true he never had a mobile phone?
Never had a phone. No, you could never get hold of him. But yeah, someone's ringing me again. All of a sudden. So Chris, he never had a mobile phone.
That wasn't Chris Blackburn then?
No. He, what is he now? He's not like, he's a Buddhist.
Is he?
He was a Buddhist. So in pre-season, Chris used to go on walks up the Himalayas, and he used to go on retreats, silence retreats, where, you know, you go in a room and no one speaks for a week, and things like that. He was religious in that way, and he refused to wear. He actually refused to wear clothes. I don't know what he used to wear every morning. He used to wrap some cloths around him, and he used to have an old pair of trainers on. But on the pitch, what a good professional on the pitch. And I got on well with him. He's a good lad. He's just a bit different to everybody else. But, you know, when you put him there, he could play centre midfield or he could play centre back.
He's a decent footballer, yeah.
I thought he'd done a job for us when we were playing against, say we were playing Stevenage and they've got Mark Roberts, John Ashton, Boswick, Scott Laird, Ronnie Henry, biggest team ever, Vincenti. I used to play Chris in front of the back four. If we were going to have a lot of the ball, I'd play Lee Fowler there. He was a different type of player with Keatsy and Jay Harris. I mean, them three.
Oh, what a...
They were like three pit bull terriers. You know, every day of the week, you'd have Keats, Harris and Fowler, or Keats, Harris and Blackburn. And then we had Jamie Tolley, who was a different type. He would make runs into the box and get goals. Flemo would get his foot in as well. Flemo left and went to Morecambe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, they're all different. Chris Blackburn done a great job for us.
Can I talk to you about Mangum? Did you see a little bit of yourself in Mangum? Sort of, you know, the goal scorer, you know, albeit at a lower level, like a goal scorer who can really make a difference. Do you want to say to him, I'll stop you scoring 20 consolation goals and I'll make it 20 winners?
Yeah, I said, like, you know, we're trying to win things. I said, I'm here to win the league and win things. So I don't know where you've been in the past, but like, you're getting like consolation goals, 20. What if you're not winning anything? They don't mean anything. Why don't you get 20 winners for us? So you concentrate. You're going to get 20 goals that are going to make the difference. And if you get 20 goals, 16 of them goals are going to be an equalizer or a winner. And you know, so in Mangy, another great lad. He was. They were all good lads, you know. I got on with them all, and I was straight with them, and I told them what their jobs were. And if I was hard with the fullbacks, Neil Taylor, Curtis. You know, Curtis and Neil Taylor, similar problem, and Neil Ashton, 5'7", playing at fullback in the conference. You know, what happens next? You get Charlie Griffin at Stevenage, who's 6'9", playing right wing against Neil. I had to take him off half time at Stevenage one night. They just kept hitting goal kicks on Charlie Griffin. They're hitting crosses to the back post. All the free kicks are going to the back post. And Charlie Griffin's playing on the wing. So I had to put Mike Williams on at left back and take Neil Taylor off, who ended up playing in the Premier League. So you need different skills. So I used to teach Curtis and Neil. I used to say to him, what are you going to do if Charlie Griffin pulls on you today? You can't be fair. You can't let him come over the top of you. And your goalkeeper's got no chance of saving his headers. You've got to resort to the dark arts of defending. You've got to go and body check him, or you've got to use your body and your arms to make him head the ball from 12 yards out. Because if he comes over the top of you 6 yards out, you're dead and buried. So every time Neil and Curtis let people get inside him, I was on to him. But eventually, we sold Neil to Swansea. He jumped 4 leagues to Swansea City, and we sold Curtis for 200 grand. And I said in the past, that 200 grand kept the academy open because we needed 200 grand a year to keep it going. And we were struggling because, you know, Jeff Moss was putting the money into the club, and eventually it was running out, the money he was putting in. I could see it was starting to run out. And I thought, oh no, we can't let the academy close. But so I think Neil's transfer money helped us keep it open at the time. And I'm really pleased that we did.
Another player I want to talk about is another player we've mentioned, Cheslowitz, because I think we all saw massive potential there. Brett Ormerod came on a couple of last year and said he thought he could be a top championship player. He had it there. I mean, I can remember hearing stories about how much you worked with him on the training pitch. How far do you think he could have gone if he had like everything together?
Oh, well, it's not new in football. I mean, you think back, every club's got a winger who's like lightning. And when the ball comes to him, everybody just shouts, just push it past him and cross it. And for some reason, they don't. They turn back or they come inside. And you think, why doesn't he just push it past the fullback? He's that quick. So I spent lots of time with, what a nice lad as well, Adrian. Really nice lad. And I tried to tell him, look, I've played with top wingers. I've played with John Barnes. I've played with McManaman. I've watched Solano. I've watched Damien Duff. I've watched Keith Gillespie. This is what they do. And this is how you do it. But there's a reason why there's 5 leagues. You know, there's players, some players get it and some players don't. I mean, if you got him on the show now, he'd say, I just couldn't probably grasp what was needed, or I should have worked a bit harder maybe. But in his head at the time, he's a young lad, he was trying. And you always felt like he looked like Kanchelskis a bit, you know, that he was solid, quick. But, you know, he tried his best. And eventually Andy Morrell was playing in his position. It was a different type. We played 4-3-3 and Andy was on the right.
Just moving forward then to that 2010-11 season. So Dean Keats came in, and we've had him on this podcast as well. And we want to know if it's true that you talked him round at a motorway service station at 2 a.m. using salt and pepper pots to talk tactics.
Probably. I still do it now. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he was a big signing for us, and he ended up being the manager, didn't he? And he was like a good servant. You know, I'd seen he'd won the league with Peterborough. He'd won lots of things in his career. Captain, tenacious, give you everything. Great in training, great round the club. Used to get the hump if we were losing all the time, or if his team was losing in training. And I thought, if I can sign him, and I think I did in the services. And Jake Spade, he's another one I signed in the services. You know, and he done well for us as well. Jake, he's a good lad. He's an agent now. And he's got his life on track because he was all over the place, but he's doing well. But Keatsy was a big signing for us. And I knew if I got Keatsy, he'd talk to the likes of Lee Fowler and Jay, and he'd help them, which he did. And I've got nothing but good things to say about Dean Keats. Fantastic pro, and helped me do my job.
Slight diversion then. What's the best service station to sign a football player in?
Well, see, you've got to sell the club to them. So my biggest weapon was the training ground. I thought, you know, the ground looks a bit tired at the minute. I could take them to the training ground first. And after I've taken them to the training ground, I take them to the ground afterwards. Now, the chairman, Jeff Moss, who owned Elegant Resorts, the travel agent. Now, Jeff specialized in holidays in Barbados. I think Jeff was a barman, and he met his ex-wife while he was over there, and he carried on, and he eventually started organizing trips, and then he started going to cocktail parties and giving his card out, and he started doing holidays for the likes of Dermot Desmond and Freddie Shepherd. And that's how he started. And when I spoke to him, I said, how did you manage to make a success of it? Attention to detail, he said. So what Jeff would do, if you booked, I know I'm digressing a bit, but you'll get why. So if you booked a holiday with Jeff, a leather wallet would appear through your letterbox with everything in it, leather labels that you put on your suitcase. A car would pick you up at the house. You get to the airport and you get ushered through the fast track lane. The other side, a Mercedes would pick you up the other end with a phone in it. While you're in the car, the hotel would ring you in the back. You know, you're on your way we're going to look after you. There's people greeting you. When you get in your room, your initials in chocolate on the bed. So the detail, he said to me, so Jeff would come in and meet the players, and I was signing them, but Jeff would add the detail that he took that into actually, and I learned a bit from that. Like, you try and make them feel special, basically. You try and make them feel like they're the only ones you're making this holiday for. So, and obviously Brian Clough tried to sign me when I was playing, and he tried everything to sign me. And eventually, you know, he'll get your family. He'll do anything to get the edge. So whether it was the services, I used to try and sell the club, sell the owner, sell the team, and then I would tell them that I'm going that way, and if you do well for me, you'll come with me if I'm going that way. So, you know, they either believe you or they don't. Oh,
it clearly
at the end of the day.
It clearly had an impact, though. You know, if they remember it all these years later, it must have had its effect on them, and the fact that they actually signed as well. Talking about things coming together, we had a great run around the January time of that season. Was that all the sort of ingredients for you coming together?
Yeah, did we go 16 games without? We went 16 games, I think, without losing.
It was a heck of a run, yeah.
Something like that, and we stopped. I think we broke the clean sheet record. And we were scoring from set plays. We were scoring good goals, and we had two ways. We had two ways of playing. I used to say to the lads, we've got it down to now the case of the tactically, we played 4-3-3. If I thought we could play through teams, we would play through Lee Fowler, Keatsy and Jay. If I thought their back four couldn't cope aerially, we would hit diagonals on the opposition, and Gareth Taylor, Andy Morrell would win flick-ons, and Mangy or Jake Spate would be, and Danny Wright, we had Danny Wright as well, or Sis, they would be running for the flick-on. So we had two ways of playing. So when I come in half-time, we're either hitting too many long balls, or we're overplaying, and we're not getting it forward quick enough. And we got it down to that point, off to a tee. So the players all knew what they were doing, and they knew why we were doing it. And we scored some great goals playing football. You know, I can remember Jay Harris scoring a great goal that we passed all the way through the opposition, and he went round the goalkeeper. And also, you know, when we did it a diagonal, say Curtis, I told Curtis, if he hits the ball down the channel for Andy Morrell, I'll bring him straight off. He's 37. He can't run. Do not hit the ball down the channel over his head and make him run after balls all afternoon. And then I said to him, and Gareth Taylor is 37. Don't hit balls over the top for Gareth Taylor. He can't run either. But if you hit the ball towards Gareth and Andy at the body, they can still receive the ball and use their experience, which they were good at, and their head their heading ability. So we used that, and Curtis got that. I said, so you can pass to Gareth Taylor on a diagonal, you can roll it into Lee Fowler, but if you hit any straight balls, I'll bring you off down the channel. But it's not in the coaching manual, but it cleared Curtis's mind for him. And he, the game become less complicated. He knew what was expected of him. And he was that quick as well, that he would actually get on the end of some of the diagonals from the other side. So, because he knew they were coming. So we had a pattern of play. And I'd like to think all the players knew what they were doing going out on the pitch. And that's all you can do as the manager, motivate them, get them organised with the ball and without the ball. I'm still gutted we never got promoted, by the way. Still every few weeks I still think about it. And watching what's happening now does make me a little bit jealous, but I'm really pleased for everybody.
Yeah, we had that really, it's a bit of a strange anomaly among that really good run was I don't know if you remember the 7-2 game against Gateshead at home when we lost to them, and there was all sorts going on off the pitch at the same time as it was on the pitch. Were you thinking, bloody hell, I've just got things going right here, and now there's a bit of a to-do off the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. We lost 7-2 to Gateshead, which was out of the blue result, which, I mean, that result, I often think about that with other clubs I managed in the future after that. That can happen. You see Man United getting battered by Liverpool 7. And you think, how's that happened? Sometimes that result does happen. But didn't we go to Wimbledon and win 1-0 the next game?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We did, didn't
we? I think, yeah.
Pogba scored. So we were back to normal within 3 days. I've gone we've just let 7 goals in. Every shot they hit went in, by the way. We missed about 9 chances ourselves in that game. It could have been about 9-all. But the game, every time they broke away at us, they seemed to score. And it was, I can remember, luckily we had a game that quick at Wimbledon. I think they were top and we were second. And we beat them 1-0. And I was really pleased with that.
Yeah, I think I can remember the sort of end of game scenes. I was watching it on the TV back. I seem to remember you high-fiving fans at the end after Pogba had scored that winner. It was quite, you sort of felt the togetherness starting to come together there. The playoffs themselves, the first half, things started badly, but after Chislovic scored a goal, things could have, but things could have really gone badly. But until Chislovic scored a goal, had Gareth Taylor ever taken a penalty for us though before that day?
Oh, I can't remember. I can remember, I'll give you the lead up to the game, right? So we're in the playoffs. Yeah. We're a bit disappointed that we haven't gone up. We got 98 points, did we?
That was the season after.
What season we in now? The one before that?
Yeah, so this is the 2009-10 season, I think. No, 10-11.
Right. And what game are you on about in that season?
So this is the playoffs where we're away at Luton. I think we lose the first game, and I think it's the one where we were 3-0 down. But I'm just going to check that one.
Yeah. So I'm on about the right game. So we end up in the playoffs. Fleetwood have got promoted, haven't they?
No, that's the next season. Fleetwood went up. I'll just look at it now, but it's definitely who went up before Fleetwood. Sorry, bear with me. I'm just getting the.
Don't tell me I've got this all these years.
It wasn't Crawley, was it?
Yes, it was Crawley because we were 2-0 up at Crawley, weren't we? Right. Yeah. So this is the one. We're 3-0 down. We're 3-0 down against Luton. Yeah. And then we go away. We take the lead from Chislovic. We get a penalty. Gareth Taylor steps up to score it. He does not score it.
Well, the lead up to the game, I thought, right, we're playing Luton at home, 10,000 fans, live on TV. What I'll do, and a bit like Darren Moore done to Peterborough the other day when they were 4-0 down, he showed them videos of them winning 5-0. or comebacks from other teams. And he kept showing them all week. So what I done, I put all the goals together on a compilation, and I put the moment? Who's the rap singer? You've got one shot. What's his name?
Oh yeah, you could lose Eminem.
Eminem, right?
Yeah.
So I've got the music to it. So I've got one of the lads to make the video up for me. And we're in the dressing room before the Luton game. I thought, I'm going to show them this, and I'm going to show them how good they are, and I'm going to tell them we fear nobody. Look at the types of goals we've scored. Look at the different players who've scored goals, and then they're going to go out on the pitch in that frame of mind. 3-0 down after 20 minutes. So I thought myself afterwards, like, you blame yourself for everything. I went, maybe I should have shown them all the mistakes they'd made before the game, and so but I mean, that's football, isn't it? It was 3 mistakes. I'll never forget, we're out the game. We're out the game after 20 minutes, 3-0 down, something like that. So we get beat 3-0. And inside, I'm feeling like we're out. But obviously, you've got to give the players something to hang on to. And so we've gone down there with a plan. If we can score an early goal, the doubt is now going to creep into their minds. They already think they're through. But the minute if we score a goal, they'll panic. And we did, didn't we? We scored a goal early.
They did panic.
And we hit the post as well. We hit the post to make it 2-0. Then we got the penalty. Yeah. And I'm thinking, Gareth, he puts it in. It's now 3-2. We go on and win this game. It's all over. They've crumbled. They've actually thrown the game away. We've got on top of them. And I think from that, from the goal kick, I'm not sure whether it was just after it. Long goal kick, flick on, Maxi comes off his line, somebody lobs him, and now it's 4-1.
Yeah.
So that just knocked the stuffing out of us. So I thought at one point, if the penalty goes in, what if? But it didn't happen. And I remember going in the dressing room, the players were gutted. I was gutted. It's like, it's really hard losing in the playoffs. You spend all season going to Tamworth away, Gateshead away, getting results, fighting and scoring a goal in the last minute for the 3 points. And you end up with all them points and we still never went up. But it's football, I suppose.